The sky above planet Vexera was dark red, filled with dust and smoke. The sun was low, making everything look like it was burning. In the middle of a small rocky valley, a group of tribal aliens were shouting, dancing, and preparing something terrible. And tied above a rising fire was a young alien girl named Lyria. Her hands were tied behind her back. Her feet were bound with thick rope. The tribe had placed her on a wooden platform above an energy grill that glowed hotter and hotter every minute. The flames kept rising, sending waves of heat up to her legs. She tried to move, but the ropes cut into her skin. She cried out, "Please, let me go. I did nothing wrong." But the tribe didn't care. To them, she was a bad omen, a curse, a danger to their future. Their leader, a tall alien with bone armor and glowing yellow eyes, raised his staff and shouted, "The fire will purify her. The spirits demand it." The crowd cheered. Drums began to beat faster. Lyria's heart raced. She could smell the burning wood. She could feel the heat rising to her feet. Her throat became dry from fear. She had never felt more alone. The tribe ignored her screams and kept dancing. The flames grew taller. The rocks around her turned orange from the heat. Lyria closed her eyes tightly, hoping it was all a bad dream. But the fire kept climbing. She whispered to herself, "Someone, please help me." But she knew no one was coming. Humans. Humans were just myths in her world. Stories told to younglings. Legendary creatures who fought monsters and saved planets. No one had ever met a real human. And even if humans existed, why would one come here? She took a shaky breath. Maybe this was the end. But then boom! A thunderous explosion shook the entire valley. Dust and rocks flew into the air. The tribal aliens stopped dancing and turned toward the sound. Lyria opened her eyes, confused and scared. Another explosion echoed through the valley, this one closer. The tribe's leader shouted, "What was that?" "Prepare for attack." The drums stopped. Silence fell. A massive crash shook the ground again. Smoke rose from behind a hill near the valley. A broken ship or maybe an escape pod had slammed into the ground. The tribe readied their weapons. Staring toward the smoke, Lyria held her breath. Out of the burning debris, someone was walking, a figure covered in blackened armor, tall, broad shoulders, heavy steps in the dust. The tribal alien stepped backward. Lyria felt her heart jump. She didn't know who it was, but she could tell it wasn't from her tribe. The figure walked through the smoke and stopped at the edge of the valley. The flames behind him made his silhouette look even more intimidating. He lifted his head slightly. A face appeared, a human face. Lyria's eyes widened in shock. Human?" she whispered. The tribe began to whisper among themselves. "It is the metal demon, the Star Eater, the legend. Run!" But the leader shouted, "Stand your ground. It bleeds like any other." The human man looked around slowly. He saw the tied alien girl above the rising fire. He saw the terrified expression on her face. He saw the tribe surrounding her with weapons. His eyes turned cold. Like frozen steel. He spoke with a calm but dangerous voice. "Who tied this girl here?" His voice echoed across the valley. No one answered. The human took another step forward. Dust rose behind him. "I will ask again," he said, louder this time. "Who tied her up?" The tribe's warriors raised their spears. The human didn't move. He just stared at them like they were nothing. Lyria felt a strange feeling in her chest. Hope. Real hope. The leader shouted, "Attack the outsider." A dozen tribal warriors charged toward the human. The human sighed softly, then he moved. He was fast, much faster than the aliens expected. He dodged the first spear, grabbed the second warrior by the arm, twisted it, and threw him to the ground. The next warrior attacked, but the human blocked it with his arm and punched him so hard he fell unconscious in one hit. Lyria watched with amazement. She had heard stories about human strength, but seeing it was something else. The human moved like lightning. Every motion was sharp. Every hit was perfect. Every step was controlled. The tribe panicked. Magic! He is cursed! He is unstoppable! The human ignored their screams. He walked straight toward the burning platform. Lyria felt tears forming in her eyes. The rope above her feet began to burn. The fire touched her skin. She screamed. The human suddenly jumped onto the platform. He pulled a small blade from his belt and cut the ropes with one quick move. Lyria fell forward, but he caught her in his arms before she could fall into the fire. For a moment, she just stared at him. His armor was damaged. His face was dirty, but his eyes were calm and kind. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "No," she whispered. "But why did you save me?" He looked at her like the answer was obvious, because nobody else did. The tribe stood frozen, too afraid to come closer. Human lifted Lyria in his arms and stepped off the burning platform. The fire behind them roared. The tribe trembled in fear. The girl held onto the human tightly. Her nightmare was over, but she didn't know. The real adventure had only just begun. The valley was silent for a moment after the human grabbed Lyria and stepped down from the burning platform. The tribe, shocked by his speed and strength, didn't dare move. The fire behind them crackled loudly, but the human didn't look back even once. He held Lyria carefully, as if she was fragile glass. Her legs were weak, still shaking from fear and the heat that almost roasted her alive. She could feel the beating of his heart through his armor, steady, calm, and strangely comforting. But the peace didn't last long. The tribe leader roared, "Don't just stand there. Attack the human. Bring the girl back." Dozens of warriors screamed and charged forward. They were angry, embarrassed, and thirsty for revenge. The human finally spoke in a low, annoyed tone. "I didn't want to fight you all, but you are forcing me." He set Lyria gently on the ground behind a fallen stone pillar. "Stay down," he told her softly. "I'll handle this." Lyria nodded, even though her heart was pounding. She had no idea who he was. She didn't even know his name. But something about him made her trust him completely. The human turned around to face the incoming warriors. The first alien swung a burning spear. The human ducked under it, grabbed the spear mid-air, snapped it in half, and used the broken piece to strike another warrior in the chest. Two more tried to attack together. He moved like water, smooth, fast, unstoppable. A punch, a kick, shoulders slammed. Warriors dropped one by one. Lyria watched with wide eyes. It was like watching a living legend. Humans were known as the impossible species. Stronger, faster, smarter. But seeing it with her own eyes felt unreal. The tribe leader grew desperate. "Use the fire traps!" he screamed. Several aliens pulled glowing stones from their belts, small explosive fire crystals. They threw them toward the human. "Look out!" Lyria screamed, but the human had already reacted. He grabbed a fallen shield, lifted it, and the explosions blasted harmlessly against the metal. The shockwave shook the ground. Rocks flew everywhere. The shield bent from the force, but he tossed it aside without fear. Dust covered the battlefield. Smoke filled the air. The warriors hesitated. The human stepped through the smoke like a shadow. His eyes glowed with determination. "You should have left her alone," he said. The tribe leader backed away nervously. "Who are you?" The human cracked his knuckles. "Just a guy who hates bullies." He launched forward. The leader tried to defend himself, but the human was too fast. With a quick move, he disarmed him and pinned him to the ground. The remaining tribe members froze. Their strongest fighter was defeated in seconds. "Take your people," the human warned, "and leave." The leader growled weakly, but he signaled his warriors to retreat. They carried the injured and ran into the forest, shouting and panicking. Lyra let out a shaky breath. They were alive. The human went back to her and gently helped her stand. "Can you walk?" he asked. I think so," she said, but her legs trembled. He gave her his arm to hold. She leaned on him without thinking. "What is your name?" she finally asked. He paused for a moment, brushing dust off his armor. "Ethan," he said simply. "Sergeant Ethan Cole." His voice was steady like a soldier used to chaos. Lyra blinked. "I'm Lyra," he nodded. "We need to move. The tribe will return with bigger weapons." Lyra's eyes widened. "There are more." "Many more," Ethan replied. Without wasting another second, he lifted her into his arms again. "Hey!" she squeaked, blushing. "You can't walk properly," Ethan said calmly, "and we need speed." He ran into the glowing forest. Strange blue plants lit up when he stepped on them. Insects with crystal wings buzzed in the air. The vines moved as if watching them. Lyra pointed ahead weakly. There's a cave. We can hide inside." "Good," Ethan said. "Show me the way." They moved between tall purple trees, past glowing stones and whispering winds. The forest felt alive, beautiful yet dangerous. Behind them, distant drums began again. Lyra trembled. "They're calling reinforcements." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Let them come. I won't let them take you." She didn't know why, but hearing that made her heart warm. After fighting through bushes and jumping over fallen logs, Ethan found the cave Lyra mentioned. He set her gently on the ground inside. The cave was cold and dark, but safe. Ethan scanned the entrance, making sure no one followed. Lyra sat close to him, still shaking. He took off his damaged armor plate and placed it around her like a shield. "You're safe now," he said softly. Tears filled her eyes. Nobody had ever protected her like this. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you save me?" Ethan looked at her gently. "Because no one else did," he said again. "And because you didn't deserve what they were about to do." Lyra lowered her head, embarrassed and grateful. In the distance, the drums grew louder. Ethan stood up, ready for another fight. Their survival journey had just begun. The cave air was cold, damp, and strangely calm compared to the chaos outside. Lyra sat near the wall, hugging Ethan's armor plate around herself like a blanket. Her body was still shaking from everything that happened. The fire, the tribe, the explosions, and this strange human who appeared like a miracle. Ethan stood at the cave entrance, scanning the forest with sharp eyes. His breathing was steady. Even after fighting dozens of warriors and running through a hostile forest, he looked completely focused. Lyra whispered softly, You're not tired?" Ethan glanced back. "Humans get tired. I just don't show it." She blinked. He sounded confident, almost too confident. Before she could speak again, the ground trembled slightly. Distant drums echoed once more, louder this time. Ethan sighed. "They're coming again." Lyra's eyes widened in fear. The human grabbed a small metal device from his belt, clicked a button, and a faint blue map projected in the air. It flickered, damaged. "We need to move," he said. "This cave won't keep us safe for long." Lyra stood up slowly, her legs still weak. "Where will we go?" Ethan pointed toward the mountains. "There should be a crashed supply pod somewhere in that direction. If we reach it, we can get weapons, water, maybe even a signal transmitter." Lyra swallowed nervously. "But the forest is dangerous at night." Ethan put the projector away and looked straight into her eyes. "I'll protect you. I promise." Lyra felt warmth in her chest. No one had ever promised her safety before. Ethan offered his hand. She hesitated for a moment, then placed her small trembling hand in his. His grip was warm, steady, and strong. "Stay close to me," Ethan said. They stepped out of the cave. The night forest HFYs. The forest was glowing. Blue vines curled along the trees. Crystal insects flew like tiny lanterns. Mist drifted everywhere, whispering in the wind. It was beautiful. But Lyria knew the truth. It was deadly at night. As they walked, something rustled above. Ethan instantly raised his arm, shielding Lyria. A large creature with 6 glowing eyes and long claws crawled on a branch. A shadow stalker. Lyria whispered. Ethan slowly reached for a piece of metal lying on the ground, a broken plate. From the escape pod. The creature hissed and leaped. Ethan swung the metal plate like a shield and slammed the creature mid-air. It crashed into a tree and ran away, screaming. Lyria stared at him in shock. You humans really fight everything, don't you? Ethan smirked. Pretty much. They continued deeper into the forest. The tribe Aritiaorans. The drums got closer. Torches lit up in the far distance. Voices echoed through the trees. They're tracking us, Lyria whispered. Ethan lowered his voice. How many? She closed her eyes, using her energy sense. A rare ability the tribe hated her for. 6 groups, she said softly. They're spreading out. They won't let us escape. Ethan cursed under his breath. Then he crouched near a large glowing plant and began preparing something. Lyria tilted her head. What are you doing? Human trick, he said. Watch. He pulled the glowing vines, tied them around a low branch, sprinkled dust around it, then placed a heavy rock above a pressure leaf. Lyria's eyes widened. That's a trap. Yup, Ethan nodded. Humans are good at making problems for enemies. Lyria giggled softly for the first time since morning. Ethan noticed and glanced at her with a small smile. You laughing at me? No, she said quickly. I just never saw traps like this. Well, Ethan shrugged. Stay close. There might be more. They moved again. The forest whispered around them. The glowing mist curled around their feet. Suddenly, snap. A branch broke behind them. Someone stepped on the trap leaf. A giant net of glowing vines shot upward, wrapping around a tribal warrior and yanking him into the air. The warrior screamed. Hang upside down, Ethan whispered. Told you. Works every time, Lyria covered. Her mouth to stop a giggle, but her smile faded when she heard more footsteps, many more. We need to run, Lyria said urgently. Ethan nodded. Hold on. Before she could ask what he meant, he lifted her again, one arm under her legs, the other supporting her back. Lyria's cheeks burned red. Ethan, you slow me down, he said. This is faster. She hid her face in embarrassment. As he sprinted through the forest, his steps were strong, fast, and precise. He dodged trees, jumped over roots, and avoided glowing puddles without hesitation. Lyria peeked over his shoulder. She saw shadows moving between the trees. There. Right behind us. I know, Ethan said calmly. Almost there. The mist well ahead of them. A huge wall of glowing fog blocked the path. It shimmered like liquid light. Lyria gasped. Ethan, wait. That's a mist wall. Anything entering it gets lost. Ethan didn't slow down. Don't worry, he said. I have a human plan. What plan? He ran straight into the mist. She screamed softly and clung to him. Inside the mist wall, visibility disappeared completely. It was like being inside a glowing ocean. But Ethan kept moving forward with confidence. How are you not lost? Lyria asked. He tapped his head. Human sense of direction. Comes with the job. Lyria was stunned. Slowly, the mist faded, and they exited into a quiet open field. Behind them, the tribe entered the mist wall and instantly got confused, running in circles, shouting, crashing into trees. They'll be stuck for hours, Ethan said. Lyria couldn't believe it. How did you do that? Ethan just winked. Humans don't get lost. We get angry and then find the way. Lyria stared at him like he was magic, and maybe he was. Their journey wasn't over, but for the first time, she truly believed they might survive together. Mist field behind them slowly faded into silence. Lyria watched the confused tribal warriors stumbling inside the glowing fog, bumping into trees, arguing, and shouting in panic. It made her laugh softly, a rare moment of peace after so much fear. But Ethan didn't laugh. He never relaxed for long. He scanned the open plains ahead, flat ground, tall blue grass, and shimmering rocks that hummed like quiet bells. "We need to keep moving," he said. "The tribe will find a way through the mist eventually." Lyria looked up at him. "How do you know that?" Ethan shrugged. "Because angry people never give up easily." She nodded. That was true. Across the blue piles they walked side by side through the tall grass. The blades glowed softly, brushing against their clothes like gentle lights. Lyria's steps were slow, her feet still hurt from the ropes and heat, but Ethan matched her pace, never letting her feel left behind. After a moment, she broke the silence. "Ethan, why were you on this planet?" He hesitated for the first time since she met him. "My team was scouting," he said quietly. "We were attacked by raiders. My ship crashed. I woke up alone." Lyria looked down sadly. "I'm sorry." Evan gave a small smile. "Don't be, I'm alive. And now I'm helping you stay alive too." For a moment, Lyria felt her chest warm again. But that moment ended fast. Because suddenly, the plains went quiet. Too quiet. The humming rocks stopped. Humming. The glowing grass stopped moving. Lyria's breath froze. Ethan, something's wrong." Ethan heard it too. He crouched down, motioning her to stay low. The silence grew heavier. Then a massive shadow moved beneath the ground. Lyria's face went pale. "A sand crawler," she whispered. "We need to be careful." But before they could move, boom! The ground exploded beneath them. A giant creature burst upward, long body, armored plates, and a mouth full of glowing teeth. Its roar shook the entire field. Ethan grabbed Lyria and rolled aside just as the monster slammed down where they had stood. "Great," Ethan muttered. "Another thing that wants to eat us." The sand crawler tasked. The creature lunged again. Ethan pushed Lyria aside and jumped back. The sand crawler's jaws closed inches from him, snapping the air with terrifying force. Lyria cried out, "We need to run." "Working on it," Ethan shouted. They sprinted through the blue grass, the giant creature crashing behind them. Its body slithered beneath the ground, then burst up again like a deadly wave. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her forward. But Lyria suddenly stopped. She closed her eyes and touched the ground. "Lyria?" Ethan yelled. Her voice shook. "I can feel it. Under the earth, it moves by sensing vibrations. If we run randomly, it will catch us." Ethan looked around. "Quickly, then what do we do?" She pointed toward a cluster of humming rocks. "There. Those stones confuse underground creatures. If we reach them, we'll be safe." Ethan didn't hesitate. "Then let's move." They ran together toward the stones. The sand crawler surged forward again, bursting from the ground, teeth glowing. Ethan stopped, grabbed Lyria's waist, and lifted her into his arms again. "You're faster like this," he said, sprinting full speed. She held onto him tightly as he dodged falling rocks and leaping sand waves. The creature roared, its jaws inches from Ethan's back. "Almost there." Lyria shouted. Ethan jumped over a crack in the ground and landed inside the stone circle just as the crawler attacked. The creature tried to enter, but the vibrating stones made it scream in pain. It dug back into the earth and vanished. Lyria collapsed to her knees, breathing heavily. Thank you." "Ethan, you saved me again." He knelt beside her. "You saved both of us. Without your sense, I wouldn't know how to avoid that thing." She blushed softly, but their danger wasn't over. The tribe finds them again. A distant horn echoed across the plains. Lyria's eyes widened. That's the tribe leader's horn, Ethan sighed. Of course it is. They looked toward the mist wall. The warriors had escaped, and now dozens of them marched across the plains with torches, spears, and glowing chains. They won't stop chasing me. Lyria whispered. Ethan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. We'll stop them, together. But how? There are so many. Numbers don't matter, Ethan said. Skill does. And you have something they don't. My powers? She asked softly. Yes, Ethan nodded. Your ability to sense energy is the key. Lyria looked unsure, but Ethan spoke with confidence. The kind of confidence that made her believe in herself. Suddenly, FWOOM. A flaming spear landed in front of them. The tribe had found their trail. Ethan grabbed Lyria's hand tightly. This time, he said, we end this chase. Lyria nodded. Her fear slowly turned into courage. The Pelan they hid behind a cluster of rocks as the tribes approached from every direction. Ethan whispered his plan. You use your senses to find their weak points. I'll take them down fast. We can't run forever. Lyria's heart pounded. No one had ever asked for her help before. No one had ever seen value in her ability. But Ethan did. That meant everything. She closed her eyes and focused. I see. I can feel their energy, she whispered. I know where they are. I can guide you. Ethan smiled proudly. Then let's give them a surprise. Their teamwork began, silent, deadly, perfect. For the first time, Lyria wasn't scared. She wasn't alone. She was part of something powerful. And the tribe was about to learn what happened when a human and a special alien girl fought. Together. The forest shook with heavy footsteps. The sky flashed with burning torches. Voices of the tribal warriors echoed through the misty plains. Ethan and Lyria stood at the edge of the old valley, the same valley where she almost became alien BBQ. The giant fire altar still burned in the center, flames rising like hungry beasts waiting for their victim. Lyria swallowed hard as memories flashed in her mind. The heat, the ropes, the screams, the fear. Ethan stepped closer and touched her arm gently. You okay? She nodded weakly. I just never thought I'd see this place again. Well, Ethan said with a grim smile, this time we're not the ones running. Lyria looked at him with surprise. You want to face them here? Ethan cracked his knuckles. They know this valley. We know their behaviors. And I'm done running. Lyria took a deep breath and focused. Her energy sense awakened. The tribe is coming from 3 sides, she said softly. At least 50 warriors. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Good. Saves us the trouble of chasing them. Lyria stared at him like he was insane, but something about his confidence made her heart feel steady again. The tribe arrives full FORs. The first wave of warriors stepped out from the trees, their glowing eyes filled with rage. Spears burned with red fire crystals. Their leader, wearing bone armor, raised his staff and shouted, Bring the girl forward. The sacrifice must continue. Lyria froze. Ethan stepped in front of her. She's not going anywhere. The tribe roared. Like wild animals. The leader pointed his staff at Ethan. You dare protect the cursed one? You dare challenge our sacred law? Ethan shrugged. I don't care about your laws. I care about her. Lyria felt her heart skip. The leader snarled. Human fool, you think you can stop us alone? Ethan smirked. Who said I'm alone? Lyria stepped beside him. Her hands glowed faint blue with energy. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of her power. You wanted my gift? She said, voice trembling but brave. Tonight, you will see what it truly is. The battle began as the tribe charged. Ethan moved first fast as lightning. He threw a rock that hit one warrior square in the forehead, knocking him down instantly. Another warrior swung a flaming spear, but Ethan blocked it with his arm guard and kicked the warrior backward. Lyria closed her eyes and focused her energy sense. She felt the vibrations in the ground, the heartbeat of every warrior around. Them, their weakest points, their movements, their intentions. She called out, "Ethan, left side 2 attacking." Ethan didn't even look. He ducked, grabbed the first attacker, and slammed him into the second. Lyria continued, "Behind you, jump." Ethan jumped just as a spear flew under his feet. The tribe panicked. She's guiding him. She sees everything. She is not cursed, she is dangerous. Lyria opened her eyes. For the first time, she didn't feel like a burden. She felt powerful. The fire altar ignites. AGA and the tribe leader slammed his staff into the ground. The fire altar blazed higher, hotter than before. Flames twisted into a swirling vortex. He shouted, "The fire spirits demand her life. Burn her." He raised his staff, but Ethan grabbed a spear from the ground and threw it like a missile. Crack! The leader's staff snapped in half, the glowing crystals scattering across the ground. The leader roared with anger. "You dare destroy our sacred staff?" Ethan smirked. "You're lucky I didn't throw a second one." The battle intensified. Warriors surrounded Ethan and Lyria, closing in slowly. Ethan punched, blocked, dodged, and countered with perfect precision. But the enemies were too many. One warrior managed to hit Ethan with a heavy club. He stumbled. I gasped. "Ethan!" She raised her glowing hands. Blue lights spiraled into her fingertips. The tribe leader's eyes widened. "Stop her. She has awakened the forbidden's energy." Warriors charged toward Lyria. She closed her eyes and unleashed her power. Lyria's true power, a wave of blue energy burst out from her, spreading across the valley like rippling water. Every warrior who stepped forward froze in place, clutching their heads in confusion. Their vision blurred. Their balance broke. Her energy sense wasn't just sensing. It was manipulating. Ethan stared in shock. "Lyria, what did you just do?" She looked at him with trembling eyes. "I never used it at full strength before. I didn't know I could." The tribe leader was the only one strong enough to push through the wave of energy. He charged at Ethan with a glowing blade. Ethan raised his guard, but the leader struck hard, forcing him backward. Sparks flew. Ethan gritted his teeth. The leader snarled, "You protect the cursed one, but you cannot protect yourself." He raised his blade to strike Ethan, but Lyria screamed, "Nitrogen monoxide!" She ran forward and touched the ground. A shockwave erupted beneath the leader's feet. The earth split. Rocks burst upward. The leader was thrown backward, crashing against the altar. Ethan stared at her in awe. "You just saved my life." Lyria smiled softly. "Now we're even." The end of the tribe. The tribe leader tried to stand, but Lyria raised her hand again. The ground shook, the fire dimmed. Energy cracked around her like lightning. The leader froze in terror. She whispered, "You called me cursed, but I was never the curse. You were." With one final pulse of blue energy, the leader collapsed, unconscious. The remaining tribe members dropped their weapons and fled into the forest. Terrified, the valley became silent. Only the faint crackle of fire remained. After the HFY, Ethan walked toward Lyria slowly. She was shaking again, this time not from fear, but from the overwhelming power she had released. He caught her gently before she fell. "You did it," he whispered. "You protected us both." She rested her head on his chest. "I didn't think I could." "You can," Ethan said softly. "You're stronger than you know." Lyria looked up at him, eyes shining with gratitude and something deeper. This is the first time I ever felt useful." Ethan touched her cheek softly. "You're not useful, Lyria. You're important." She blushed hard. Their journey wasn't over yet. But for the first time, They stood in victory. Together. The fire altar finally went silent. Smoke drifted into the night sky as the wind pushed away the smell of battle. The tribal warriors who once screamed for Lyria's sacrifice had run into the forest, terrified of the power they had witnessed. In the middle of the valley, Ethan sat on a fallen stone with Lyria resting against his chest. Her breathing was slow and shaky. Her energy attack had drained nearly everything from her. Her hands still glowed faintly, like fading blue stars. Ethan gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You did so well," he whispered. Lyria opened her eyes slowly. "You're still alive?" He chuckled softly. "Of course I am. You kept me alive." She blushed and looked away. "I didn't mean to use so much power. I just didn't want you to get hurt." He tilted her head toward him. "And you saved me twice." Lyria's cheeks warmed. Nobody had ever said those words to her. Not her tribe, not her family, no one. She had always been the strange girl with dangerous powers, but to Ethan, she was someone worth protecting. The rescue signal. Ethan reached into his damaged armor and pulled out a small transmitter, a rectangular device with a cracked screen. He adjusted a few wires, sparks forming at his fingertips. Lyria watched in awe. Humans fix everything, even broken things. Ethan smiled. "We try." He pressed a button. A faint blue light blinked. Beep, beep. A weak signal shot into the night sky. Lyria's eyes widened. "You're calling your people?" Ethan nodded. "If they're close, they'll come. If not, well, we'll figure something out." Lyria's face changed. Her expression was confused, almost worried. "What happens when they come? Will you leave?" Ethan froze for a moment. He hadn't thought about that. "I should go back," he said slowly. "My team doesn't know. If I survived," she bit her lip. "So, you'll leave the planet?" "Yes, and I will stay here." Ethan looked at her softly. "Lyria, you don't have to stay." Her eyes widened. "What?" "You don't owe me anything." Ethan stood up and offered his hand. "I didn't save you because I wanted something from you. I saved you because someone had to." Lyria's chest tightened. "But if you want to come with me," Ethan continued, "you can. You'll be safe. No one will call you cursed again. No one will treat you like a sacrifice." Lyria stepped closer, her voice trembling. "But why me? I'm not strong. I'm not brave." "You're wrong," Ethan said firmly. "You're brave because you faced everything and still stood with me. You're strong because you didn't break. And you're important because your heart is pure." Lyria felt her breath stop. Nobody had ever said these things to her. Nobody had ever looked at her with that kind of softness. She whispered, "Ethan, I don't want to lose you." "You won't," he said. "Not if you come with me." The ship's arrival, the sky suddenly glowed bright white. A deep humming filled the valley. Wind blasted the ground as a huge human rescue ship descended from the clouds. Lyria grabbed Ethan's arm in fear. "What is that?" "It's so loud," Ethan laughed. "That's a human dropship. And that noise means we're saved." He stepped in front of Lyria protectively as 3 armored human soldiers came down the ramp. Their eyes widened when they saw Ethan. "Sergeant." "Cole, we thought you were dead," Ethan smirked. "Not yet." One soldier scanned Lyria with a harmless device. "What species is this? Do we take her into custody?" Lyria stepped back, fear filling her eyes. Ethan immediately blocked the soldier with his arm. "She's with me." The soldiers exchanged confused looks. "With you, as in?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "She's coming with us." Lyria stared at him, shocked. The soldier shrugged. "Your call, Sergeant. She need clearance, but HQ will manage." Lyria took a slow breath. "Ethan, are you sure?" He nodded gently. You saved my life, Lyria. I'm not leaving you behind. She smiled a small, soft, trembling smile. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. The final moments on the Pelean Edie before boarding the ship, Lyria walked to the edge of the valley. The fire altar was still glowing slightly. This place almost killed me, she said quietly. But it also gave me you. She turned to Ethan. If I leave, I will have no home. Ethan stepped beside her. Then make a new one with us, with me. Her heart fluttered. She looked down, then shyly held out her hand. Then, take me with you. Ethan took her hand without a second of hesitation. Always. Lyria blushed so hard she couldn't look at him. A new life began. The ramp of the human ship lifted as Ethan and Lyria stepped inside together. Lyria looked around with wide, sparkling eyes. Everything was shiny metal. Bright lights, warm air. So different from her harsh world. Ethan leaned closer. You okay? She nodded. It's beautiful. Just wait until you see space, he said with a grin. Lyria's eyes widened. I'm going to the stars? With me, Ethan said softly. She smiled shyly and whispered, Then, I'm ready. As the ship rose into the sky, leaving the valley far behind, Lyria held Ethan's arm tightly. She didn't know what her future would look like, but she knew one thing for sure. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. She wasn't unwanted. She wasn't cursed that she was chosen. She was safe. She was seen. And the human who saved her life had now become her future. Together, they left the world that tried to burn her. Together, they stepped into a new beginning. Together, their real story began.